Hi, welcome to this edition of An Open Doors Finding Truth Everywhere. Today, it's a discussion about this podcast from Jim Self and Mastering Alchemy. I have some things to say relative to what Melanie and I were just talking about, and some things about what he shared. First, I have a song, the song that when I sat this morning, I was inspired to play for us. I haven't played it in a little while. It's just the music. It's not even a video, and it's a song that moves me. It's only a couple minutes long, so let's do that first.
Decided to be happy. I've decided to be glad. I've decided to be grateful for all I ever had. I've decided to let go of all this pain tonight. I've decided to let go of all these demons inside. I know I am blessed. I know all I ever wanted was this. I know I don't need more. I've got what I came for. I've decided to be open to that little voice inside, telling me I'm beautiful. It's okay to be alive. I've decided to be kinder to myself when I feel sad. I've decided to be grateful for all I ever had. I know I am blessed. I know all I ever wanted was this. I know I don't need more. I've got what I came for.
So it was 2010. Stop that. Okay. It was 2010, and there's a lot of my story before that, but in the year 2010, I found myself managing something called the Evolution e-zine online. I had a partner. By that time, I think he was already my partner, even though he hired me. Um, that lived he lived in the UK, but then he ended up moving to Romania because he decided that the world was flat, and that's a whole nother story. Um, but we had a mailing list of, I think, 110,000 people, and a lot of things were happening all at once for me. And I just received this email that lit up um, that invited me to check out Mastering Alchemy. I, at that point in my life, received a lot of emails, and many of them I ignored, or I sent some um, sort of, some sort of thank you for your interest, and I'll put it on the list. but this one like lit up. I don't know. I still don't know um, why we do what we do, but it opened up something that lasted 3, 4 years, um, diving deep into the work of Jim Self and Mastering Alchemy. It might have been my focused foundational work. I traveled to Minnesota in 2010. I was in this 11 conference in Scottsdale with probably 600, 700 people. I went back to the 12 conference. I did his level one, his level two. I was part of the live level three. Like I was fully immersed in this work. And and it was a very drama-filled part of my life anyway. And there's a lot of stories and a lot of different things that happened at that part of my life. And I realized when it just came back, when Jim Self just showed up in my world again a couple of weeks ago, um, he showed up out of nowhere, and I know why I walked away. I know what I told myself, but it eased away not because of Jim Self and the work, but because of how many of the people in that work were making it special. And actually, I I was in the live classes, and we were partnered with people in our time zone, and there were four of us, and I dated one for a number of years, and um, the four of us stopped talking to each other at the beginning of COVID and all of the insanity when it became clear that we had very, very different viewpoints about what the world was and how to be kind. Um, but it really hit me as I was sitting with this podcast and watching how my energy system responded to just being in the presence of Jim Self, that Jim Self and his teachings were never a part of the chaos or um, it was the people and the egoic structures and all the things that were being pulled into the work that were undoing and on their own trajectory that pretty much kicked me out. But even in the last couple of days, I've already started mastering alchemy level one again and have been in contact with them about going further. So mastering alchemy. And the other thing, as I was listening to Mastering Alchemy Level One, and as I've sat in this podcast more than once, I've recognized that his teaching is foundational to how I've approached all the other work, which I didn't even remember. He is slow and thoughtful, and I recognize that so much of what I learned during those years I've carried with me. Um, like the slower you go, the faster you will arrive. Somehow that is part of my energy system and setting up the things like the rose and the vibration of words. And there's some foundational ways that I do life that came from those years. So I wanted to start there. I know that Amy has studied mastering alchemy. I'm curious if anybody else knew anything at all about Jim Self before they listened to this podcast, or if it's brand new. So is it really just me? It's just me and you, Amy. Is that fun? Um, so the other part of that, and it's what Melanie and I were talking about before I hit the record button and people started showing up, that's become really precious and foundational to what I'm waking into every day is how things are just happening. the part of this egoic mind that is taking responsibility for the things I'm doing right and the things I'm doing wrong or the places that I want to fix or not fix is really being challenged. Um, because it really does feel like there's a flow and stuff is just sort of going along the flow. And it does feel like I can choose sort of kinda, but I saw Jim Self never showed up on my YouTube stream until he did. Like I hadn't really seen him in years and years, you know. And Amy and I would it would come up in our conversations over the last couple of years every once in a while, but it didn't light anything up until it did. You know, I had the same kind of response to Joel Goldsmith. It doesn't, and I'm noticing Williams doing the same thing right now with the Headless Way. Like things are just coming into our path or not coming into our path. And the part of me that's a personality that thinks I have control of things can't take credit for any of that. And that's really that's allowing me to let go of a whole bunch of stuff I didn't even know I was carrying. Things are just loosening. I'm becoming more interested and more curious and less contracted and more aware. So I feel really, really served by having the teachings and the energetic vibration of Jim Self being added back into the mix in how I am now. And a lot of memories are coming up, and I am recognizing, he teaches a lot about the different ways time works, and there's a circular way that time keeps sort of feeding back on itself. And memories of who I was in 2010 and 2011 and 2012 are coming to the surface. And I'm recognizing that even then, those aren't the things that I was. There were things that were covering up what we always are. Part of what he teaches is this idea that awareness, what I am, is just right here, and the future comes towards me, and then it flows in the back, but I'm still right here. That's one way of looking at time, right? Which is so cool. So the awareness of who I am can have 2010 and 2011 like alive here at the same time 2026 is. And it's a deepening, more opening, a different kind of awareness of who I am in relationship to, which is a big part of what this podcast was. Um, so a couple of highlights before I hand it over. I'm looking forward to the conversation. The slower you go, the faster you arrive is a key part of his teaching. And if you were gifted with the ability to just sit for an hour and listen, as opposed to having it in the background as you're walking around in your world, you might have noticed your vibrational system getting slower as you hung out with him. And he pointed to it every once in a while. Um, in mastering alchemy in general, you're moving from vibrational levels when that happens. So in the third dimensional reactive state, you're constantly moving and you're living as if you are linear time, right? And as long as you're in that space, you don't slow down. Once you slow down enough, the higher vibrations and the higher dimensions have the ability to affect your current present awareness. So the slower you go, the faster you arrive isn't simply about relaxing. It's about being informed and being gifted with the awareness of these higher dimensions. Amy pointed to it this week, and I'm hoping she says more about it. A big part of this hour was asking this question, where am I in reference to? and I've been allowing that question, like, where am I in reference to where I think I want to be? Like, if my desire now is to have the personal will and the divine will be entwined, weeded, so that there's no sense of I want something other than God wants, which is one way of talking about my desires right now, is to know that really I am, the guides continually say, you are who we are. When you know who you are, if really what I desire from a separate self standpoint is that. Like to eliminate that sense of separation between what Cindy thinks she wants and this what the monad wants for me. So where am I right now relative to where I desire to be, and allowing that sense of space between the two? And then how can I align myself to be in accord with where I want to be, is a big part of this teaching. He pointed to the world being a mirror, and those in the world who make us uncomfortable, just the rewording it to not you make me uncomfortable, but I am uncomfortable when I'm in your presence, which is a beautiful way of saying, hey, you activate something in me I don't want to look at. And being willing to look at it is part of this work. The value of asking questions, the vibration of words. I have highlighted here, which we could talk about any of this. I'm going to hand it over. Um, but he said, there is an innate intelligence that is beginning to make itself known, and this intelligence is you. Um, which I'm sitting with. This is, to me, it's the same thing as the guide saying, we are who you are when you know who you are. And it's allowing, and it's informing also this question, like, where am I in reference to where I desire to be? My desire being to know myself as the monad. If that's who I truly am, then that's the experience I will to have. And where am I right now? Like, where am I placing a lot of this work in mastering alchemy is focused, since I've started level one again, it's focused on intention and attention. And where am I placing my attention, and what is my intention? And when I intentionally place my attention on things, that is the world that is growing and that I'm choosing and that I'm telling the universe I want to experience. And if my real desire is to have the experience of the truth of who I am, where am I right now in relationship to that, is the same way of saying, is how much of my attention, my intentional attention, is being drawn to, feeding the sense of separate from the divine. How much of my attention is on making the personality comfortable as a separate someone? How much of my attention and energy is being drawn into problem solving, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And and he really did point to it here too. It's not about fixing any of these things. He's very gentle in his teaching. He says, now none of this is a problem. Just notice. Just notice. And because it's in the noticing, the quiet noticing, that things just start to shift. So I'm just I'm peacefully grateful that that I'm being invited into a new relationship with this work, even if it really is hanging out in his first level, which is the rose and the personal energy field and an intention and attention and some work on dimensions and the vibration of these first seven words. It's just all beautiful and wonderful. And I will now to open things up. How did how did Jim Self find you or anything I just shared? Please, Melanie.
Hey, hi everyone. Yeah, I had different experience. I listened to it twice, and the first time, I think maybe my I have been, reading Salvador Poe's book, so I think maybe some of that influenced how I experienced. Because first of all, when he says, "Where am I?" my response was everywhere, and then the thought of, in reference to what I want. Well, who is wanting? And it was kind of taking me back into the personal self as separate a bit. But his voice was so calming. And, if I get out of, my questioning it, it came through, his point, when he was saying notice is that presence that is there all the time, that is prior to thought. But like intention, I just saw a lot of maybe doing coming into play there. And then, well, who's doing? Everything is just happening. Like we were talking about, everything is just happening. And but you pointed, I'm just talking, but you pointed to how you should step back and just notice, and that kind of puts you in a different place. And I like that innate intelligence coming through. And as you and I did sense, that opening. You talked about the upper higher mind and getting more expansive, which allows more curiosity, which opens up. So I did really sense that part of it. But yeah, there were just some.
Yeah, so it's interesting. This is what I want to say because I signed up and I should be finished with Salvador's pose intensive right now, but he delayed this last week. He's in India and traveling, and he's a bit all over the place. And it's interesting because Salvador Poe said right at the beginning, this is the end of your path, right?
Yeah.
Um, but then it's also do what you want to do and what's lighting up your heart. And it's really it's moving me when I'm immersed. Like I don't have a clue why I was attracted into Salvador's intensive. I'm glad I was. There was a release and an opening and a permission to just follow whatever lights me up, you know? But I don't even bother to look to see who's being lit up because I don't understand. Like, there's no one here to light up. I get that. And there's something being lit up.
Well,
And there's almost this sense that it would take more energy to resist it. If that makes sense,
yeah,
right?
it does. I kind of feel the same in a way, the same kind of way. I just enjoy letting whatever arises come up and then move. As you say, you find that sense of flow when you take out resistance out of the formula.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's this and part of Jim Self, and again, I am speaking from knowing a lot more than the 1 hour of Jim Self, right? I'm speaking of like having things lit up for me for 3 or 4 years of some pretty immersive kind of study with him. Um, a lot of Jim Self's work is about vibrational accord. It feels, even though there's there's more channeling and a lot of Metatron and geometric shapes and words, and there's a lot of potential doing, which is actually play. Like Jim Self is a lot happier than Salvador Poe is, and it's something that I noticed. Salvador Poe, as a person, right, is a bit chaotic and canceling things and making weird, like he's a little distracted.
Mm,
I'm not, there's no complaint.
mm,
Jim Self is a bit more polished, relaxed, open. Like I'm not
mm.
seeing Salvador Poe have it put together well enough to go and bake a blackberry blueberry pie, right? Whereas Jim Self has this desire to create and explore, and there's a vibratory tone about him, and he talks about it a lot in his work of relaxation and play and happiness and joy that really lit me up inside. I forgot about it. I forgot about how often Jim Self says, don't take yourself so seriously. Have some fun. And you could feel it, even though he doesn't look, and he was a very successful businessman and different thing. He's not a good looking man at all. Um,
Um,
but there's just this, his vibration, his vibrational tone, just like you said,
yeah, I can sense it.
calming and quieting, and there's this joy thing that starts to bubble up. So, yeah, it's kind of cool, all these different voices and how they affect us. Hey, William.
Well, I tell you, I'm in so much enjoying. It's like I cannot afford to listen to all the things that I have been trained to listen to. And that's why I turn off so I don't even see myself. And then I feel like I'm just having a series of holidays in terms of Sao Pose, back and forth, back and forth. Another holiday, another holiday, another holiday. And what that represents to me is turning my attention to who I really am, which is this loving space. It's almost like it's filled with silence and love. And I cannot afford right now, I'm so sensitive to the the faces that I see in the world that I've been trained to focus on and be and interact and figure out and change not only mine, but their and yours. It reminds me of the story about the elephant that as he walks down this path, the elephant, all the little shops that he goes, that you can't control his trunk. So he's constantly, the trunk is just going back and forth and eating up this stalk of bananas or eating up this. But what they found, instead of trying to control and limit the trunk, they just give him something to focus on. So they give him a stick and he holds that stick and he walks right past all those bananas. And that's what it feels like. I'm focusing, I've got a staff. And what it is, I just look in the direction of who am I? And there's no bananas there. It's just peace and quiet. And so what I'm hearing, like this morning, I just sat with my wife and said, you know what? What I want, I just want to love on you. I want to love on your loving. I know it just seems crazy, but that's all I want. I just want to love on you. And that's what it feels like. It's like I'm included in this space. I'm including everybody in this space. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to figure anything out. I don't even have to listen to words. I can just feel the loving energy that I include everything. And that's what I hear from Sao Po. Have a holiday. It's now. It's now. I'm here now. I'm here now. And so that's what's going on with me. And it's like I'm so holding on to this who I am, not the words, not the self, not the, it's just so quiet. And I just love the silence. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you, William. Well, Amy, how was it to be with Jim Self? I hope it's okay that I'm calling on you, but it appears that you and I are the only ones here that knew about him before.
Oh, it's fine. I was kind of waiting to see what everyone else had to say. Um, what I think about Jim is he's very good at sort of setting the stage, and he creates a setting using words and tone, and he's sort of a shaman in that way. He takes us on a journey, and he's very good at doing that. Part of the reason that I think I finished level 2 and maybe level 3, I can't remember, but I just realized I didn't want to get taken on any more journeys. And a lot of it was how to control your life using words. You know, do you want to be wealthy? Do you want to have abundance? He's very smart and very good about it. No criticism of his teaching at all. I just realized I wasn't getting where I felt like I needed to go with him. And if I heard him say, take another breath one more time, I wanted to just punch right through the whatever. I didn't want him to tell me to take another breath. But he's not a non-dual teacher, and yet he does use bringing us into presence and the now. That's a very big part of his teaching. And like I said, what I really enjoyed was being present in the moment now is really important. And we're in the moment now. And Mel said, you know, what am I right now? I'm everything. And to a certain extent, that leaves me sometimes I really like that, and I could just expand into it and just relax into it. But sometimes it's really helpful also to say, in reference to what? In reference to what is arising in my awareness now, right? And what I think I want, this is where I really agree with Mel. Who is the I that thinks she wants something? I wish he would ask that question. And the slower you go, the faster you arrive. That's just another way from saying you're already here. Right? Just recognize that you're here. And where else would you be? Right? And it also, that reminds me of, you know, I choose the second place to know the first. There's a part of that Course in Miracles lesson there. What I really liked was when he said, I'm uncomfortable with me when I'm in reference to this person or this situation, which is a mirror for me. I'm uncomfortable with me when I'm with myself as this. And so the question is, can I be comfortable with myself in the presence of myself that is showing me something that's in myself that I don't really want to see, you know? And the only way to respond to that is by just being in presence, more presence. And then you can say, well, who am I in reference to this? Am I this, which is making a discomfort arise? Or am I in the center of my being, on the other side of the rose, you could say. I find the rose very, very helpful. I've used it a lot. So I like the slower I go, the more opportunity I have to pause before the next moment arises in my awareness. So I'm actually giving more space to that. And I liked it. I liked his saying, am I ahead of myself? You know, I'm ahead of myself, actually. I really like that. I'm not present right in the moment. I'm already in the next moment or preparing for the next moment. So that was really useful for me. So I can choose, if I'm in the present moment, to receive, not what I'm choosing, not what I'm wanting, but to be in receptivity to what the universe is sending, is moving, is the next wave that's going to come up. Can I receive that more fully, more fully, more fully, more fully receiving that? This vibratory thing, we've talked about this before, but love holds all the frequencies from the lowest to the highest. And so if I am knowing myself more as love, then I am able to hold more and more frequency. And I think part of what's happening now as we become present and we stay present is we're being given the opportunity to be aware of more and more discomfort. And the degree to which we can hold that and allow that is the intelligence that Jim was talking about. So I love that he said, notice that you're already grounded. Like you don't have to do anything to get grounded. You're already there. And then follow the instructions. So what are the instructions? What are they? The instructions are pay attention, slow down, and you will be offered knowingness, whatever's arising. Those are the instructions. Just pay attention, slow down, be the open space. The instructions will come in the knowingness in the moment when you slow down and pay attention. Those are the instructions. That's it. Unless, I mean, I may have not gotten them all fully, but that seemed to me like what they were. I don't make the instructions. I just pay attention to them, right? To the best that I can, right? And the last thing I really loved, I do appreciate his use of words and the vibrations that words have. And boy, he nailed it, because I was on the treadmill the first time I listened to him. And so he brought up this enchantment. And I was really listening to what he was saying. And boy, he had me totally pegged. It was like, are you smiling right now? I was so smiling. You know, are you more relaxed right now? Oh, are you excited? Yes, I'm excited. I love that word, enchantment. I just think it's such a great word. And the invitation to use your imagination, because it's not, I, for years, did not use my imagination because I thought it was mine. But it's not mine. I just offer myself up to it, and up it comes. And if it feels good, it's true, right? The Holy Spirit's answer to every situation will be one in which no one loses. So whatever I imagine, as long as no one's losing and everyone's winning, it's okay. And then he really pegged the guides here when he said, use your imagination, allow the feeling of enchantment. Even if it's unfamiliar, can you allow this word enchantment to be your entry point? And I loved that he's called it an entry point. It's unfamiliar yet familiar. And he said, can you give yourself this? And I really like that because the guides tell us we don't know. We're remembering what we've forgotten. So in the word enchantment creates a space, creates a certain space that's really magical. And this non-dual stuff, which I love and I think is true, could do more in my experience with using enchantment and magic as a way to experience non-duality. So that's what I appreciated about it. Thank you for listening to me, and
Thank
I'm
you.
all done.
As I was listening to you, I was just tapping into this recognition that in my life, Cindy's life anyway, these teachings are becoming more and more like a tapestry. There isn't a single human teacher that has the answers. And I love, in the Jesus of the New, Regina clearly stated that all any of these teachers can do is point. The truth is always right here. And what I was recognizing, you pointed to a number of the reasons why I perhaps lost interest in his teachings, right? And stepped away. There was too much specialness. There was just so much. Look at how special I am. Let's go play with the angels and talk about how all these humans suck. There was so much weirdness in the community that I had no interest with. And
Also, too much money, too much, pay to play.
yeah, um, there's a tapestry that's being created here of different voices pointing to different things and creating different opportunities. And it's one of the reasons why I love this finding the truth that we do here is allowing all these different voices and all these different traditions to light things up for us without this belief that this is the way. This is the person that has it. I just couldn't even do that anymore. And yet all of these different beings seem to have the ability to open or activate or release something in me. So thank you for that, Amy. And thank you for your share and the clarity contained within it. Melanie's back.
Oh,
You got
sorry.
another movie for me?
Trisha can go ahead if you want.
Go for it. We have time.
Okay. Well, it also, when he was going through the words, it made me think a lot of like of the yoga practice because he started with attention, which is drishti, where you put your focus. And when you have a focus, he goes to balance. And the only way to balance well is if you're aligned. You have to be perfectly aligned. Or otherwise, it's a lot of effort. Work really hard to try to balance if you're not perfectly aligned. So he went to balance and grounding, is a different next, part of yoga, being grounded, feeling that sense. And it also balances equanimity, staying. So, and then the curiosity then is the extra play that comes in. So I could see a connection there with how he worked that through. And I did want to ask you guys about the rose. I didn't understand that at all. What was he saying about the rose?
I was looking for a good like 5-minute video on the rose and I couldn't find one to play here. But there are longer teachings. The rose is the way he teaches this energetic. hmm, I might find some longer videos that I'll send you, but it's literally it's a way of seeing your energy field as it relates to others and to be held in this beautiful higher vibrational field so that you can interact with the world around you without having the garbage come back, almost like a back filter, a back flush. So the rose allows you to create this beautiful space where the light flows out, the light can flow in, but the darker stuff doesn't flow in. And
Oh,
so, like, please, Amy.
it doesn't relate to the flower then, or does it?
Yeah, it's the rose. The rose is almost like the Fibonacci. I don't know if you can see this. No, the Fibonacci formula. It's
Oh,
a perfect harmony. The mathematical equation of the rose formation. And it's not just you're sort of in a bubble with anything coming toward you, but you're also anything that you send out is also passes through, and it's all mind trick. It passes through this sort of harmonious, highest and best purification. So I could be in the kitchen having an argument with my husband, and I would pull the rose up. It would make me stop. I would, I became aware. I paused, became aware that the energy wasn't good, and I would put the rose up, and then I would say whatever came out of my heart, but I would pass it through the rose, and it never failed to change the tone of the conversation. Never. And I use it a lot, not so much to protect myself, but so that whatever I am sending out to them is in the highest and best for their good. And it helps me be truthful, but my truth passes through sort of a sacred geometric space before it's received. So I use it both ways, but yeah, thanks, Mel.
Hi, Patricia.
Hello, everybody. Good to be here. Um, the word enchantment, I was so surprised to hear that word. And I thought, oh, interesting. And then my association, my I guess, free association went to fairy tales and to magic. And I thought, oh, well, what kind of fairy tale isn't my thinking a fairy tale? And I went, oh, I could create a fairy tale within my mind that's full of enchantment and has the possibility of magic. So I just wanted to share that with you. Thank
Oh,
you.
have fun with that. Hey, John. My smile has gotten bigger.
Well, this is great. Some enchanted evening. Listen, I love that what you just said, because that's exactly what I wanted to jump on, was the enchantment and the magic. Simply because Amy, there's an opportunity here for me to take a look at this, take a look at this enchantment, because as Patricia was saying, we got a lot of fairy tales attached to this, but we can be, as she said, and used her word, grounded in it. If we explore it, if we explore what enchantment means to it, and bring it down into sensory, and bring it down into a template of sensory material. How do we experience enchantment? Get self-grounded and create a template of that, where I can plug in anytime I want, as you do with the rose in that, so I can use this fairy tale to my advantage in a very productive way. And one of the opportunities with that is also to look at any counterexamples when I'm not living an enchanted life. What's going on there? What opportunities am I missing there? Because the enchantment and magic is very, very powerful stuff. Wow. So thank you for sharing that. And also about what your comments on that rose was, it just reminded me that from the vegetable kingdom, all flowers, like they give off That's all they, because we're talking about giving and receiving here. What they do is they give. They never stop giving. Even if you step on a rose, it doesn't fight back or anything. It just continues to give off the best as it can, and in these adaptive circles, and it will continue to do that right until it's ground into the ground. It just keeps on giving, keeps on giving, keeps on giving. The question is, and it really speaks to exactly what you said about the receptivity. Like, how can I open myself to this enchantment, magic, and receptivity of all that's going on? So we're back to giving and receiving. Giving and receiving. As it was like right at the beginning, like the monad. Giving, we receiving, and giving is like a reciprocal action. Giving of the what? Giving of the feeling that was spoken about, that you can identify, the feeling of the enchantment and magic. Anyway, thank you so much for highlighting this for me to build my own template and receive the things that I want to. And so thank you, folks.
Thank you, John. Hi, Patricia.
I'm back again. Hi. What I wanted to add to what I was thinking about with this enchantment and creating a fairy tale instead of this nonsense that I'm so familiar with in my thinking is that I don't want to be a Pollyanna skipping around and going, isn't it wonderful? It's like the mundane is mundane. It can be heavy. It can bring me down. So what this does is how to apply a fairy tale to what is. And I don't know yet, but I'll keep you posted. If that makes any sense.
It does. I don't know if Sandra's just listening or if she's where she is, because every time someone uses that term now, Pollyanna, I smile because Sandra clearly stated that I love being a Pollyanna. And if you haven't watched the movie, watch the movie, because the energy of Pollyanna makes the world right. So the negative connotations of Pollyanna, they don't exist here anymore because of the way Sandra shared about that movie and that word. So I just wanted to state every time I hear someone say something like, I don't want to be a Pollyanna, I hear Sandra going, be a Pollyanna, be a Pollyanna. Did I get that wrong? All right, so two people's hands went up and down. I'm assuming Amy's hand went down because Regis's hand went up and she wanted to give him a chance to talk. So I am going to call on Regis and then I'm going to call on Amy.
Good. Amy, she can put her hand back up. I just wanted to say, John Sunday, you light up my life. And you are quite enchanting yourself. And I think about you. I hear your voice many days when we're not on this Zoom in the house with me. So thank you for all that you are, all the love and excitement and zest for life that you bring. It is infectious. Thank you.
So you're giving me the opportunity to say out loud that John is leading the meeting next Tuesday, the training wheels to give and receive are one in truth. So
Thank you very much, Regis. I receive and accept your comments with great love.
all right, Amy, there is still time for your share.
All right, quickly. It's 92 degrees here. We don't have any air conditioning, and I've got somebody downstairs who's working, so it's a really interesting time. But what I wanted to just say I loved about what he did was he talked about slowing down, and he used the word curiosity. And I love that word, to be curious. So he said, just pause and be open. Like it was a recipe for just being in the now. Just pause, be open. And then in the spirit of curiosity, allow the imagination to assist you. Allow it to, but on your terms, he said. So allow the feeling of enchantment and then step into that, step into the enchantment, use it as the portal and see what's on the other side. Just be curious about it. You don't know. And so I just love that. I think it would be really fun for us to use that as an exercise, like to do that once or twice this week, and then come back and share when I get quiet, when I become present, when I allow myself to become curious, I allow the word enchantment to arise, and then I just step forward into it and let whatever happens happen. And then to share what we experience with that. So I'll put that out there.
Thank you, Amy. Dago's in the house. Hi, sweetheart. I got your email. Whatever we're doing at an open door, you really can just find us through the same link that you got here. So you sent me an email saying, how do I join? It really is just show up here.
Yeah, I just didn't know how to join like live or I don't understand. I just didn't know how to do it. But it's okay. It's honestly, I've just I've just I've just learned that um everything, whatever's happening, is perfect as it is. It's only indigo or my thoughts that think it needs to be different. And that's why I love getting quiet because when I'm quiet, I just know this love that we all are. And that just takes my breath away. I just have nothing to say. And I'm just so happy. And I love hearing everyone. I just love being here with everyone. It's just such a gift. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Nadego. I want to hear Sandra's voice. Oh, look at that. I said it at the same
I
time
know there's
she
only
unmuted
2
it.
minutes, but there was a question he asked that I really loved that I don't think I did come in late, so you may have already talked about this. But he did ask, where do you want to be and where are you? But then he asked another question. How would I like to experience myself? I thought that was a great question. It really was, because we have all these experiences. The enchantment did not surprise me at all. I feel like I live an enchanted life. I do live an enchanted life. But how would I like to experience myself is a really wonderful question. So I just wanted to emphasize that. And maybe say also that as I listen to all of these many teachers, and I am becoming more careful not to have some sort of litmus test, to speakers, that they have to say things in a certain way or have a certain philosophy or be on a particular path. To let all of that go, there is no litmus test, because there must be some benefit in this to me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be listening to it. So that's all. Hi, everybody. Bye, everybody.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I don't know where the hour went, but the hour went. We meet again in 3 hours for Advaita in. Next Thursday, I got to tell you, I just found an hour-long conversation with Carol Howe just because she's not in the body. Well, she's not in the body anymore, and I think she's one of the brightest lights that I've ever interacted with. So it's just come with whatever you know about Carol Howe and the early moments of the course, and we'll listen to the podcast. I don't. She's so clear and centered, and we've all heard her teachings, I think. But anyway, we're going to have a celebration of Carol Howe, and the week after that, I think, is the Headless Way. Hopefully, William's still going to be madly in love with that teaching then. Um, I love us very, very much. I'll see us back here in 3 hours. Bye-bye.